today's objective, we're going to be discussing some transformations. And so the first couple of them that we're going to discuss in this video is translations, reflections, and rotations. Let's go over some definitions so we have a little bit better understanding. Transformations is a change in the size or position of a figure. Translation is a movement of a figure along a straight line, and this movement is the slide motion. A reflection is a transformation of a figure that flips a figure across a line. Rotation, a transformation in which a figure is turned about a point. And so for 90 degrees, when we rotate that figure, we would rotate that figure one quadrant on the coordinate plane. 180 degrees, we would turn it 2 quadrants. 270, we would turn it 3 quadrants on the coordinate plane. Big number 1. The pre-image is the figure you start with. So for example, triangle ABC. That would be our pre-image, or in other words, our original figure. So prime is the result of the transformation. So going back to that triangle ABC, when we do a transformation on it, it would be triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Thick number 2. Translation is where we slide the figure left or right and up and down. If we move it left and right, that means we're going to be adding or subtracting to the X value. If we move it up or down, we're going to be adding or subtracting to the Y value. So if you look at think of the coordinate plane, up and down, that is the Y-axis. So that's why we would be, manipulating that particular value. So here's an example for translation. We're going to translate triangle ABC up 2 units and 3 units to the right. So let's name those new coordinates. Okay, so I already have triangle ABC plotted here on the coordinate plane. So if you think about, if I want to translate it up, so I want to go up, that means that we're adding and subtracting to the Y value. So up, that means it's increasing, so we're going to add to the Y coordinate. So adding 2 to the Y would give me a 5. Adding 2 to the B would give me a 7. And adding 2 to the C Y coordinate would give me a 5. Now let's go and do the X. So that means that we're doing 3 units to the right, so that means that we are adding 3 to the X coordinate. So add 3, 0. Add 3, positive 1, and add 3 to C, which is 0, so that would give me a positive 3. So this is my new image. So let's go ahead and graph that. 0, 5 for A prime, 1, 7 for B prime, and then 3, 5 for C prime. Does it look like this original was shifted and it slid up and over? Thick number 3. In reflections, if you flip over the X-axis, you are changing the Y values. Okay? To their opposites. If you flip over the Y-axis, you change the X values to their opposites. So let's reflect triangle CDE over the Y-axis. Okay? Over the Y-axis. So in thick number 3, we said if we flip over the Y-axis, we're changing the X values to their additive inverses. Okay? So here's my X values, and it says we're changing them in opposite signs. Okay? So let's look at this. On C prime is negative 2, 1. D prime is negative 5, 3. E prime is negative 3, 4. Notice that we're staying on the same tick mark on the y-axis for each one of those points. And we reflect that. So we have our pre-image and our image. Trick number 4. In rotations, the figure will rotate or turn either clockwise, that means it's going to go towards the right, or counterclockwise, which is going to go towards the left. So in this example here, we're going to rotate triangle ABC clockwise to the right. So here's a little note. In 90 degrees clockwise rotation, the x and y value are going to change positions. In other words, the 3 is going to become an x coordinate and the 1 has become a y coordinate. And then the y value is going to have an opposite in sign. So let's do for A prime. We're going to switch them, so 3, 1, and then we're going to change the y value to opposite sign. So number 2, switch them, y value, opposite sign. C, switch them, opposite sign. Let's graph that. So A prime is at 3, -1. B prime is 1, -2. And then C prime is 1, -1. Does it look like we have rotated that particular triangle? Okay, here's a little recap on what we've done so far. So for translations, that is the transformation where we slide a figure in a straight line. So remember, sliding it down, think about the y-axis. If we're sliding it down, that's decreasing our y values. That means we're going to subtract however many units we're going to slide down. If we slide up the y, that means we're going to add to the y value. If we're sliding right for the figure, that means we are adding to the x value. And then sliding left, we're subtracting. So just think about the number line or the axes on the coordinate plane to determine on if you're adding or subtracting. Okay? And a reflection, that is the movement as far as flipping a figure. If we are going to reflect it over the x-axis, this is what happens to the x and y coordinates. We're flipping over the x. Notice the x stays the same. So we're flipping over the x, so the x stays the same, and the y will change its value. If we're flipping over the y-axis, the x is what is going to change the same, but the y coordinate will stay the same. Okay? Rotation. This is the transformation that we turn on a figure. So for 90 degrees clockwise or 270 degrees counterclockwise, what we do is that they change positions. So now they flip, and then the new y coordinate will have an opposite value. If I rotated 180 degrees, they stay in the same position but opposite in value. Okay? So the opposite of here, we're going to do 270 degrees clockwise or 90 degrees counterclockwise. So when we do that, we're still flipping them, but the y, which is your new x coordinate, will have the opposite value. And for 360, if you think about it, if I rotate something 360, my original is still, even though my image is still my original. So it's going to land right back where I started at. Okay?